Welcome to Falmouth. If you're a visitor, this is where surf and sun meet for fun. If you're a resident, this is where you'll find the businesses and the resources necessary to fill all of your needs. If you're a business person, this can be your home. Join with other men and women who work together to make this a sustainable economy year-round. Welcome to Falmouth, Cape Cod.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting tonight on September the 17th. If you could all please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First up this evening, and we do have a full agenda, is a presentation from the Charter Review Committee. And who will be making that presentation? Mr. Stumpke? We have a microphone?
We have a tag team.
Well, if you're gonna need that microphone, and it appears that Catherine has this one, so we're all
Right.
set.
Just in case. This will just take a moment to load.
Not a problem.
Well, I'm waiting for her to load. We have last-minute change, which I'll pass out.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad.
I know, isn't it fun? I need my 16-year-old. Paul? Yes, please. Where? Uh-huh. Right, yeah, that's the challenge. Where is it, Doug, do you know?
Should be a
All
full
right.
slide down here,
Okay.
and a little right there.
Nope. There we go, that one.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Brad Stumpke, Chairman of the Charter Review Committee, and Catherine Bumpus has been the driving force for the committee, putting all the inputs together and coming up with the 15 proposed revisions that we have submitted to the charter. I will give a brief explanation of the proposed deletions and additions and changes. Next. The first change is considering the vacancy for town meeting members, and there's, you can read on the slide here, the requirement for filling a vacancy within 30 days of the vacancy announcement is unnecessary, so we're deleting that from Article 2-11. Next. Town meeting committee, we're formalizing the Rules and Procedures Committee of town meeting to look at the related bylaws and recommendations to town meeting. Next. This is the one that we have spent the last half hour of debating, because we wanted to make sure
And this
that we
isn't the
were.
actual one. This is the wrong one.
Oh,
So read the one that
Oh,
that
this is
Brad
the-
still handed out to you, please. Just handed out to you, and I'll go ahead to the next one.
okay. The watchman of the warrant, we allowing or recommending that a designee be allowed to assist the moderator. Right now, the moderator's plate's pretty full, and we feel a designee will assist him in gathering the information so that the annual report can be
submitted prior to the fall town meeting. Is that correct, Catherine?
Well, in time for publication in the annual report.
Right. Okay, now you skipped 213?
I did skip 213, but they all have the appropriate language because we don't have the appropriate language on our slide.
Okay. All right, well, I'd like to just explain to them what the piece of paper is that you have, for the selectmen have for 213, because right now, the town clerk has to do 2 mailings for the town meeting, and we're trying to cut down on costs, so we've now combined that requirement into one. And that's basically what you see in the handout that I just gave you. You want to say anything else?
No, we had to make a small change to make sure we were in complete compliance with the state law requirements under 43A11.
Okay, we'll go to 3.2. This is a small change, but the board sets policy. Well, we felt very strongly that the word communicate should be in there. Not only you set it, but you want to communicate it to all your committees, to the town manager, and that's why we've added the word communicate. And also, the board must make recommendations on warrant articles, and we wanted to clarify that. Okay? Next one, general provisions. Well, first of all, I step back and say the nomenclature in the charter is confusing to several people. And we tried to simplify it by saying governmental bodies. That's committees, commissions, boards, one catch-all, governmental bodies. And that's so the duties and responsibilities of elected governmental bodies. And, you know, that will hopefully make all the committees, you know, operate under the same guidelines.
Some of these were articulated in different places. It brings it all together in one place. And later you will see we have also done the same thing for appointed governmental bodies.
Okay. Planning board. Again, nomenclature. There's local comprehensive plan, the master plan, and what we're trying to do is simplify the terminology in the charter and the responsibilities of the planning board. So they're responsible for the local comprehensive planning, and the master plan, which is the local comprehensive plan, they in turn would submit to the county.
Well, first to town meeting and then to
Town
the
meeting,
county.
right. So that's on the planning board. Responsibilities for appointments. Again, in this one we included because now we have approval for a finance director, and we clarified it because in under the finance director now are other like the town treasurer and the town collector. So we clarified the key players under Mr. Suso. Next. Now, here, the first time I met Mr. Suso, we started talking about from divisions and departments and things of that nature. And he questioned me, what's the difference? And I said, I don't know. And having a military background, the chain of command, and so what we tried to do in this particular article is say that the department is the overall under, if it's a big department like the fire department, police department, and then under them are divisions. And it follows logically down below that. So it's not confusing to somebody who reads it for the first time that the department is the key organization, and under it are the divisions, et cetera. You can read some of that here. I think I've just,
But it does try to maintain a certain amount of flexibility by saying other administrative organizations if Mr. Suso or somebody in the future wants to create something that doesn't necessarily follow the department division form, there is that potential to do that outlined in the charter. So if something comes up that we haven't thought of in the next 7 years, the potential for that change exists.
okay, Heather, you'll be interested in this next one. Acting town manager. And we basically took out the 90-day requirement that's in the existing charter. And we broke it up into an A and a B. The A is highlighted absence. If Mr. Suso's absent from town hall, Heather is in charge as the assistant town manager. And then if she's absent, then obviously somebody has to be appointed, because there's got to be somebody in charge. But when there's a vacancy, that's a different story. So that's why we broke it up into Section A and Section B.
And we took out the timeframes because the timeframes were such a problem during the last transition. So rather than, handicap the board in some way and force them into a timeframe that might or might not work, we took them out.
Okay, publicizing vacancies, the next, we tried to eliminate some of the confusion and make it the same for all boards, so that the applicants, even if they're incumbents, they have to apply for a position on their board if the vacancy is there. So by writing and clarifying this article, we actually eliminated another article, 6.2. So they're all under this umbrella. All the vacancy requirements are under the umbrella of 6.2. I mean 7.1, I'm sorry. Okay? And now, this appointed town boards, we are proposing how they run the board. And, they have to adopt rules and procedures, develop agendas, maintain minutes, because some boards are loosey-goosey. I mean, let's be honest about it. We're trying to put some discipline into all the boards, whether they're a 4-member board or they're the planning board. They all should be operating under the same principles. And copies of minutes, very important. So that's really why we decided to write this article. And this section C is one change, because in today's charter, it said each committee will meet with the selectmen once a year. Well, you know that's not possible. There's too many committees. And so we're saying you can submit, but the committee should submit a written report so that you have some idea of what that particular committee is doing. That's what section C is all about. And then the time limits in section H. Any questions? Okay, charter enforcement. This is a new, you're smiling, David. This is a new article. The Article 9-1 was reserved before, so we are inserting charter enforcement in here. And basically what we're saying is giving any citizen from the town a vehicle to raise an issue and the procedures that they should follow. And we basically say you got 30 days if you want to file a complaint, and then a follow-on procedures for the town to follow. This was not in the existing charter. Any questions? Okay, the next one, revision of bylaws. In the charter today, it says they be reviewed every 5 years. Well, there are so many bylaws, it's an impossible task. So we're saying is that giving you people, the board, more flexibility to appoint ongoing committees to take a look at various aspects of the bylaws, rather than say, well, every 5 years we're going to look at them, because that's an impossible task. Okay? And lastly, definitions. Can you see?
Yes, I can.
Definitions. This, I thought, is one of the must-haves from this whole review. We've got to clarify what is a financial plan, what is a governmental body. And I've already mentioned some of the changes. The master plan is a classic example. And multi-member body. These are will be in the definition section of the charter. Some of them aren't there today, and they're used interchangeably throughout the charter, and we need to clarify that. Okay. So, in summary, we've got 15 recommended changes. You can see the article number in the charter and basically the title and what they do, whether they delete, add, or change to the existing charter. So what are the next steps? Well, in 2 weeks, you people are going to come up with submitting the charter, the changes rather, for the recommendations for town meeting. And then we are going to work on a final report. We've already started on that. Then town meeting on the 13th November, we'll vote the revisions, hoping that we'll get a blanket approval on some of these changes. Some of them are obviously going to be held and will be discussed, but hopefully there'll be enough clarity when we go to precinct meetings and things of that nature that we can get many of these to pass on the blanket. Then, of course, they have to go to the Attorney General for approval so that they can go on the ballot next May for the general election. And that's it.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to any questions from the board. Doug?
I have two. One is, in the May ballot, will it be one question? Will it be 15 questions? Will it be a question per article in the town meeting warrant that goes on the ballot?
Yes.
Do you have any idea?
It will be 15 questions, is my understanding. But it will be
Frank?
or Michael can answer this better probably, but it will be a very brief summation as to whether or not the voters want to carry out the action of town meeting.
Correct. The articles that go on the town meeting warrant will be more, will have more information on it, and then it'll be summarized in the ballot question, but there will be 15 ballot questions or however many pass at town meeting.
It will not be in full detail on the ballot. It will be a brief summary.
Correct.
Will what goes to town meeting be a further explanation of what we have? There are many ellipses going on in these recommendations, and I can't tell, some of the definitions, there are blanks in it, and I can't tell what the actual definition is or article that's being described as. Do I have to go to the old charter and pick?
No,
No.
You should have received a packet that has the full article and the full explanations. The one you're flipping through right now is just the PowerPoint that we put up there.
Presentation.
We submitted the full articles and
The full
explanations.
articles with the explanations were given to,
And those are what's in the warrant.
Yes.
yes,
And you all should have also received electronically, or will receive electronically, copies of the articles with the changes tracked as changes. So you can see what are additions, what are deletions, and what changes actually are in there.
I'd like to say this to the board, that rather than just deal with any changes that the board might want to suggest the night, or if in fact the board does want to suggest, the night we make recommendations, I would prefer that if you have any questions, that you contact the chair, and we'll schedule something before we actually do the recommendations so that we can have some open dialogue. If there's one of these articles or one of these charter changes that anyone on the board might have some concerns about, I think it would be best that we have just a specific meeting agenda item on that one particular item, or two or three, so that we can talk these through before we actually get to the recommendation stage. So between now and 2 weeks, if you have some concerns about an issue, even if it's the night of, we could take that as a first agenda item and then go into recommendations afterwards. So does the board understand what I'm talking about there? Okay. Anyone else have any questions for this group while they're here tonight? Go ahead, Brian.
I do. Could you define board? Board.
Governmental body.
That's not defined, though. That's in slide for 3.2, general powers. It's section C. It says, make recommendations to town meeting on all warrant articles unless within the purview and responsibility of another board. But it doesn't, if you look in the definitions, there's no definition of board. And so the question then is, under whose purview? Are we talking about the planning board, or are we talking about the Board of Appeals? Because the Board of Appeals is appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Is it within our purview, or is it their purview?
that's a good point.
That's the one thing that I was a little confused about, was that particular statement there. And I understand what you're doing, but I'm sort of left wondering whose purview it would be.
Yeah, I think certain committees make recommendations to town meeting. You get this Community Preservation Committee, along with the Finance Committee, they both make recommendations on those articles. I think Planning makes their own recommendations, and obviously the Board of Selectmen makes their recommendations, and I think that's what we are trying to accomplish, or trying to make clear, and I'd have to, so we're not changing anything there, that's what's already been in place.
Did you say Article 3-2?
3-2, General Powers,
Article
Section.
3 in the charter refers to the Board of Selectmen, does it not?
Yes.
So I think that's the reference.
No.
But it says, unless within the purview and responsibility of another board. And that's what I'm asking is, what do you mean, what do we mean by another board?
Equal government.
Otherwise, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Well, with that in mind, is there an area that you can tweak one of these articles to define that definition?
Until you vote them tonight.
Well, I mean, we could, that's what I'm asking. Frank, you want to come up to the lectern?
Frank Duffy, I'm a member of the committee. Article 3 of the charter designates the responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen. So when we say another board, it's not the Board of Selectmen. So if the responsibility for the article falls within another board's jurisdiction, then they make the recommendation, you don't. That's what we're trying to say. And also in the definition of governmental body, we refer to the fact that any reference in the charter to a board, commission, or whatever refers to a governmental body. So I think it's clear.
But one of my, I guess, and I apologize for not being clear myself, my concern or my question here is that the Board of Selectmen appoints a variety of committees, commissions, boards, the Board of Health, the Zoning Board of Appeals. When we say another board, how do we define what another board is? If
Well,
the
it's anybody-
Conservation Commission,
Anybody other than the Board of Selectmen.
but does that include the
Anybody.
Bikeways Committee?
Yes. Yeah.
It should probably actually say another governmental body.
I guess, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, is that
Well,
kind of clarity.
that might be a good point, another governmental body, because we did wrap up everything within the
Right.
definition of governmental bodies. Okay.
So how would we go about, Frank, how would we go about making that change before they vote it tonight?
Make it right now.
The downside to making it, what you're saying, governmental body, would be, my understanding of this was to enforce the Board of Selectmen to make recommendations on many other things that aren't the purview of, I would say, like the planning board finance committee. If it's an article, a petitions article having to do with the bikeways, I wouldn't know by this way it's written right now, do we make a recommendation or does the bikeways committee make a recommendation? I would see that under the purview of the bikeways committee, and there wouldn't be any impetus to make the Board of Selectmen make a recommendation on it. When I think that was your intent is,
Do you think, though, that all your appointed committees end up being your final responsibility as the Board of Selectmen? Is how I would read that. That you have the final responsibility as the Board of Selectmen. There are three that come to mind who might make a recommendation: the Finance Committee, the Planning Board, and the Community Preservation Committee. Because
I would put those three there and say we have to do everything else, as opposed to leaving it.
What I got out of this article, and there is some confusion then, is that even though the Finance Committee may make a recommendation on an item, that the Board of Selectmen should make a recommendation as well. Am I wrong?
I don't believe that was the intent of the committee.
But that's what I got out of it. So we're talking interpretation.
Which was what we were actually trying
I know, but I'm just,
to
and
clarify.
that's what I'm saying.
But this is why we had public meetings and asked people to come give us public input.
Mm-hmm.
We did make changes after a number of those. This wasn't something that others had a concern about.
But the people who are going to interpret this, which is the Board of Selectmen,
Need
I'm
clarity.
just telling you the clarity that I have here tonight. What I took out of this was that even though the Finance Committee makes recommendations on financial items, I took out of this that the Board of Selectmen was also to make a recommendation in a leadership role. That's what I thought you were asking for. So, that's why I didn't ask any questions, because I said, okay, buck stops here, we'll make the recommendation. But if you're telling me now, verbally, I don't think that's being
I
interpreted.
think that I can tell you what our intent was in changing it. How you read it will be your responsibility as a board.
So but what I'm saying here tonight is, as we move down the line, the next Board of Selectmen or the next Board of Selectmen might interpret it the same way I did and don't have the benefit of you making this statement.
Right.
And it's not in writing. Go ahead, Brent.
And I think Mr. Jones makes an excellent point that the CPC has traditionally made recommendations on articles. However, if we interpret it this way, the responsibility of another board, well, we appoint the CPC, so perhaps that is our responsibility to make a recommendation and not the CPC's responsibility. And again, later boards may interpret this differently, and I think along the lines of the efforts that you folks have made to try to clarify things, I think this requires some clarification as well.
Okay.
You got to come to the microphone, and I know that you're going to say that we don't appoint the CPC, we appoint 3 members of the CPC. Thank you very much. I got the interpretation, but, all right.
Good point.
I read your mind, Ralph.
Okay, I'll read yours.
Okay, anything else? So what, we will,
How about, we will vote the entire warrant with the exception of this. You guys can go meet on it and come back before we vote this one item on the warrant? No? Yeah? Is that all right? Yes, go ahead, Frank.
If you vote the warrant, 2 weeks, we can come back with a recommendation, which would include the change.
Because we can amend any
Okay.
article
Okay.
that we.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I didn't want us to fly, in the seat of our pants, but that sounds fine.
So I would say that the board, the committee, the Charter Review Committee would probably appreciate your input if you had thoughts on how to clarify it, or what you take from this, and how to make it either what you think it should be or what we think it should be, and we'll come back with other language. You may not like it any more than you like it, but
It doesn't really matter what we like, it matters what town meeting likes.
and the voters.
That's very true. Good point.
Okay, so we would ask that you give us some input in a week so that we have some time to react also. Is that fair?
Okay, so there would be only this one particular issue, I mean, unless someone else on the board has something else that would like to talk to them about. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up is to vote the articles and execute the warrant for the November the 13th, 2012 town meeting. We'll go through these individually or by page, but do you want to make any comments, Mr. Suso, before we did this? Or do you want to wait till we get to the issues that...
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only that, of course, the board has copies of the articles that we are suggesting that you consider, as well as a brief list of those that were requested but are not currently recommended. So be happy to walk through any and all of those. Mr. Chairman, if that's your pleasure.
Okay, if we have any questions, why don't we just have you stand by, maybe
Certainly.
for some clarification. Article 1, how would the board like to do this? By the page, or do you want to do it by the article?
Traditionally, we go by page, and if
Okay.
an article spills onto another
Okay.
page, we.
So page 1 would be Article 1, 2, and 3. It continues on, Article 3 continues on through page
Page 8.
Page 8. So, pages 1 through 7.
I move to place Articles 1, 2, and 3 on the warrant.
There's a motion, do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next up would be Article 4, page 8.
I move that we place Article 4 on the warrant.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Page number 9 is Articles 8, pardon me, and Articles 5 and 6.
I move to place Articles 5 and 6 on the warrant.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Page number 10. Article 7, this again is a nitrogen control bylaw. That is page 10, page 11, and goes on to page 12.
No, just page 11.
Okay,
Article 8 and 11. I move that we place Article 7 on the warrant.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Yes,
The next Articles 8 through Article 19 are going to be good, and 20 and 21, 22 are all the, what we just heard about in the presentation on the charter review committee. So I would move that we have put Article 8 through Article 22 on the warrant. We just have a presentation on that.
there's a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. That brings us to page 18, Article 23. It's a funding article for contract.
I move that we place Article 23 on the warrant.
Motion, do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, the articles through number 27 are all placeholders for labor agreements, as is 23, just to clarify.
Okay. So, does the board, the next page, page 19, is Articles 24 through 31.
I move that we place Articles 24 through 31 on the warrant.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Article 32, and Articles 33, 34, 35, and 36. It may be appropriate to add this draft or not, or is this for the board's information?
That's for the board's information,
Okay.
and being a draft, it will be adjusted somewhat
Okay,
in the days to come.
so this is page number 10, Articles 32 through 36.
Move that we place Articles 32 through 36 on the warrant.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is page 21, Article 37 and 38.
I move that we place Articles 37 and 38 on the warrant.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Page number 22, Article 39, 40, 41, and 42.
I move that we place Articles 39 through 42 on the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Page number 23, Articles number 43 through 49.
I move that we place Articles 43 through 49 on the warrant.
Motion and a second. I do want to say to the board that Article 49, that the board may want to have some discussion when we're doing recommendations. So this will be an issue that we'll bring in David Bailey to discuss with the board. Okay? So a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And then page number 24, Articles 50 through 57.
I move that we place Articles 50 through 57 on the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Now, on page, the remainder of the articles are articles that the town manager and his office did not recommend to be placed on the warrant, but they are attached. So if the board wanted to discuss any of these articles and consider placing them on the warrant, they can feel free to do so. Some of these items would in fact be addressed in the proposed capital plan, and some of these items were a little bit premature to move to town meeting at this time. So if anyone would like to talk about any one specific item, we'd be happy to do so. Would the board like me to go through the articles individually, or?
I'm just referencing, Mr. Chairman, since we just got this draft of the capital improvement, which ones are actually being covered.
Sure.
The West Falmouth Fire Stations is on here in the assembly. I have no further questions.
Any other questions from the board in regard to any of these articles?
The only question I would have, Mr. Chairman, is as we finalize the warrant, is it possible, I think we've done it the past couple of times, to put the petition articles somewhere in the middle, so they're not all stuck at the end of the night, on the last night of town meeting, if that's possible.
I think they are moved around a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
I was actually looking at that, and Articles 1 through 33, and then Articles 43 through 57 are not petitioners' articles. The petitioners' articles, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they run from 34 to 42.
That's what I was looking at.
So,
With the exception of the zoning.
With the exception of Article 4. That's petition Article 2.
Article 4, okay.
Keep in mind that there's a large block of those first articles with the home rule charter, 15 or so. I
Yeah.
don't think we want to break the stride in the middle there, throw a petitioner's article. We did put, I think they did put one in Article number 4, right after the planning board articles.
Yeah, articles, as Mr. Jones noted, Articles 8 through 22 were the, is it 8 through 22, I think? So,
This entire,
I'm comfortable with the placement based on the fact that there are clusters of articles, if you will, that probably don't want to be separated.
Okay? Okay, so we have voted the articles. Do I have a motion to execute the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved. Thank you very much. Good job. Next up is authorize the purchase and sale with Falmouth and the Falmouth Housing Trust to convert Oddfellows Hall to affordable housing. Mr. Suso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I noted to the board we had some premature publicity on this particular agreement. I indeed, and this is a proposed Oddfellows Hall, as you noted from the agenda, Mr. Chairman. Proposed Oddfellows Hall purchase and sale in anticipation of developing affordable housing. I had mistakenly concluded that since this proposal had received town meeting approval prior to my tenure, that also included the approval of this board to proceed with purchase and sale. Speaking with town council, Mr. Duffy clarified that this did not need to come to the board. You have received copies of the one proposal which was submitted in response to the RFP from the Falmouth Housing Trust. You also have a copy of some review comments and the final purchase and sale agreement as revised by town council with their input and agreed to in principle by representatives of the Falmouth Housing Trust. And that document has been executed, subject only to this board's authorization. I know we have one or more representatives here as well. It's a project we're very excited about in the spirit of the intent of town meeting and others from several years ago when this was first advanced, and I'd be happy to answer questions if the board might have any.
Open it up to the board for any questions. I think it's important to note that this will accomplish two goals. One is to provide some desperately needed affordable housing in the community, but also keep the character of this particular building in the downtown area the way folks have perceived it and been able to view it over the years. So I don't know if anyone else has any comments. Andy, would you like to? Go ahead, Doug.
I just want to comment on the proposal of the Falmouth Housing Trust. Was a really impressive project that they put forward, and I'm thrilled that they were able to follow through with it, and I'm happy to authorize or be part of the authorization of this project and to support what town meeting did vote earlier.
Okay. Andy, do you want to say anything? You know, you always like to talk.
Was that a shot? I'm Annie Saganek, Executive Director of the Falmouth Housing Trust, and we're excited, very excited. It's been a long time in coming, and we've worked nicely with Mr. Suso and our town planner, and I think that it's going to be a great project. It is going to be complicated, as you referenced, because of the historic preservation piece, but I think ultimately it will be a really nice end product, and I hope the town is supportive and likes it. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
All right. Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the town manager's, the authorization of the town manager to sign the purchase and sale agreement from the Falmouth Housing Trust to convert Oddfellow Hall to affordable housing?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Cape Cod Light Compact. This is to authorize the town manager to pursue a street lighting demonstration project in cooperation with Cape Cod Light Compact. We could have done this under the summary of actions, but I thought it was be important that the folks out there know what's going on, what we're looking at, and what the potential is if the demonstration project actually comes to fruition and is successful. So I'll turn that over to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In a nutshell, as you noted, this is a proposed demonstration project. It is being proposed by the Cape Light Compact for all the municipalities in the Cape, and it would involve a demonstration of 8 what we would call now Cobra Head street lighting fixtures to be converted, 4 in a residential area, 4 in a commercial area, to be converted to LED lighting, and based upon that to make a determination about level of interest in potentially converting, again, the Cobra Head lighting only in the balance of the community. That is a much more highly efficient form of lighting, as the board has well aware. It also has a slightly different light spectrum that is much more white and much more realistically portrays light colors in the nighttime. For instance, from a public safety standpoint, if the board so authorizes, we would pursue this demonstration project for those 8 different fixtures in locations to be determined. And if we decided to move forward further, there'd be a further discussion with this board about the potential for Cape Light Compact to change out the balance of the town's Cobra head light fixtures to LED lighting, which would be an extraordinary energy efficiency and cost savings to the town. And again, this is being proposed throughout the Cape, and I certainly recommend that the selectmen consider this proposal. Heather, I think, has an additional comment or two.
Just one comment, that this is the second of a 2-phase project. The first phase were area-wide street lighting, and that's being implemented in the schools. The schools have already embarked on that. The Morse Pond School has already had their parking lot lights changed to the same types of, I don't want to say the same types of fixtures, but to LED fixtures. So if anyone's really interested in what that looks like, they aren't the exact same model that will be used on the street lights, but the school has seen some success there already.
I'd only have one question, and the question would be, in fact, will it, I think we currently pay by the light, not as a metered cost. Would that cost dramatically change?
There would be a dramatic reduction if we change town-wide. I don't have that figure in front of me, but
Okay.
we would be bringing that to the board if you would consider a town-wide Cobra headlight conversion at that time.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
2 questions. One, where the demonstration places are going to be, is that up to our vote, the town manager's vote? Will the townspeople have a say as to whether the demonstration happens in their neighborhood? And then what's the next step? Will we then take a look at those 2 demonstration areas and make a decision that we're going to proceed with sufficient town input? This was something I heard about a year ago with some residents of Woods Hole wanting to maintain their old style lighting and concerned about the brightness and the whiteness of the LEDs. And I just want to make sure we are open to...
I think that's a good point. I think Heather can answer that question for you.
Well, I can start to answer it. I can tell you that we did a streetlight conversion project of all of the historic fixtures about a year ago, and that project was done successfully and is complete. This would not deal with those old mercury vapor lamps. This would not be in those districts. It will not be in Woods Hole. It will not be on Old Main Road in North Falmouth. It will be all of the fixtures that are currently the Cobra head fixtures, and those are not Cobra heads.
Okay. Any further discussion with the board? Yes, Nancy, would you like to come into the microphone?
Nancy Hayward, West Falmouth Precinct 5. A couple of questions that I had have already been answered, that you're not going to put them on West Falmouth Highway in the West Falmouth Historic District or in other historic districts. And you have also answered the question that these lights are more intense. So you're decreasing the number of lights, but making the light brighter. And I guess if these are in residential neighborhoods, I don't know, do you measure lumens at different people's houses? How bright it's going to be if you're the person who's by the lamppost? I don't know if I live in an area where you're going to put these lights. And I will go to Morris Pond. How long have they been up at Morris Pond?
Do you have any idea?
A few weeks, but I don't know exactly how long.
All right. Well, I probably haven't been in there in the last few weeks. And do you include of your calculations of saving money, how much it's going to cost to change the fixtures and everything for these lights? Thank you.
Well, a couple of things, Nancy. Cape Cod Light Compact is going to do this free of charge for the town, and we're all paying for it. I realize that in our electric bill in one form or fashion. But again, this is a demonstration project. We're only going to look at it, see if it works. We'll get some feedback in regard to that. That's kind of why we're going that direction.
Good, I'm glad it's a demonstration project, and thank you for pointing that out to me again.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I clarify one other item? Because to the best of my knowledge, there's no suggestion that there are going to be fewer lights and that they're going to be more intense. That is not what was represented to us by Cape Light Compact, merely that the existing Cobra head fixtures would be on a demonstration basis, four in a residential area, 4 in a commercial area, would be converted to LED lighting for those respective, anyone to look at those as a sample of the impact in those particular limited areas. And also answering Selectman Jones' inquiry, I was not anticipating that necessarily this board would need to vote on where the 4 residential lights would be and where the 4 commercial lights would be, but we could certainly do that if it would be the board's desire. But we have a lot of neighborhoods and not too many demonstration lights, so that's the dilemma. We do need to have the 4 in the residential area consecutive to really see the impact.
I think Selectman Jones was really trying to look at, are we going to do the demonstration in the historic districts or areas where there was concern? Am I reading your mind? Right, okay.
You're doing a great job tonight.
Okay, sorry, okay. So do I have a motion to authorize, a town manager to pursue a street lighting demonstration project?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next up, 7:50, we're going to interview, vote, and appoint members of the Affirmative Action Committee, Human Services Committee. First up this evening is Tanya White. Is Tanya here? If you'd like to come up to the lectern and introduce yourself. Tanya is applying for a position on the Human Services Committee.
Right.
And maybe give us a little bit, 1 minute, a synopsis of why you want to serve and a little background about yourself as well.
Well, I've been volunteering or doing, I should say, pro bono psychotherapy at Falmouth Human Services. I'm extremely impressed with that organization. And when I heard there was a need for someone else on the board, I volunteered. I said I'd be happy to do that. I'm glad to be able to give back after all the years of education, training, practice, and so forth and so on. So if they can use me, I'm glad to be used. What would you like to know?
I'm going to open it up to some questions from the board.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It was just a little bit of an opening statement from you. Doug?
In our CV, we have, you retired a few years ago and then moved here year-round?
I'm sorry. You know what? There is a problem. I have a hearing problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll speak a little more slowly and more clearly. In your CV, it mentions that you retired a year and a half ago. At that point, did you move to Falmouth year-round?
I did indeed.
So you're now
yes,
year-round
I practiced in Lexington. I lived in Lexington for 47 years. And then after my husband died, I moved down here. And I've been here since January of 2010, full-time.
Great, thank you.
David?
Thank you for your interest. I am very impressed with your resume, and I just want to say thank you for your resume as well. We don't get a lot of them when people put in for these committees, but it's very telling. And just from reading this, I'm very impressed, and I know you'll make a wonderful fit on that committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brent?
Took the words out of my mouth. Thank you again for the resume. We always appreciate that. And I would suggest that if you're doing pro bono work, you're already giving back. But thank you for your interest in the committee.
Thank you.
I do have one question. Have you ever attended any of their meetings, Human Services
No, I have
Committee?
not.
Okay.
Although Karen Cardera has told me what what the board, the committee consists of and what they do, so, but I have not attended a meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I would move putting Dr. Tanya White's name into nomination for the Human Services Committee.
Second.
And that's for a term expiring on 6/30/15. So I have a motion, I have a second. That is for putting the name in the nomination. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Can I have a motion to appoint?
I move that we appoint Tanya White to a term ending June 30th, 2015, to the Human Services Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Did she leave on us? Okay. Next up is Scoba Roads, Affirmative Action Committee. How you doing, Mr. Rhodes?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good. You're a familiar face to me, and I'm sure many members of the board, but for those few people out there who might not know you, you want to introduce yourself and give us a little reason why you want to be on the Affirmative Action Committee.
My name is Scoba Rhodes. I live in East Falmouth, off and on for the last 60 years. Came here as a little guy. I have seen the position listed for quite some time, unfortunately, and I had hoped that somebody would pick up the slack and actually apply to fill the position. Since no one's bothered to do that, I decided I may as well become a member of the committee since I go to their meetings anyway. I just can't vote. So if I become a member of the committee, then what I say and then what I can vote for would make it just that much more meaningful. One of the things you don't have for me is a resume. You don't really want me to take the time to go through that, do you? There are no comments.
Go right ahead, Brett.
Mr. Rhodes, I think we're all familiar with your history in town and your efforts on behalf of the community, so I would say no resume is necessary. Thank you.
He was my guidance counselor back in '68 at intermediate school, so the days of Henry Frank, so I know him very well. Thank you.
I just have one question of curiosity. Have there been votes that you've heard that you wish you had been able to vote to have them go differently?
No, but I think that my comments have convinced people to vote in certain ways.
Okay. Thank you for you taking me on the charge for this.
We have one position, and it is for a term expiring on 6/30/15. I have a motion to put Mr. Rhodes' name into nomination.
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I have a motion to appoint Mr. Rhodes to a term expiring 6/30/15?
Make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion is second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. You guided him very well as his guidance counselor.
I've worked hard at it.
Next up, well, to stay on schedule, we'll skip down and go to the summary of actions. First up, number one is approved request for a special event pumpkin festival in Carnival Marina Park. Number two is a request for a special event Rosary Rally, Peg Noonan Park. Number three, approved request for a beach wedding, Torres Burke, Falmouth Heights, 9/30/12. I'd like to hold the next one. Number five is authorize the town manager to request time extension for the MEPA public review of the Falmouth draft CWMP EIR and notice of project change. And then number six is a letter of support for the Falmouth Housing Corporation's Notanaka. Want someone give me a hand?
Natanico?
Natanico.
That's how I see it.
Okay, Natanico Woods, 40B Affordable Housing Project. So.
Is there anything we actually do on that? mean, it's a letter that has come into us, right?
It's just a letter that we have to, they have to have a letter from the chief elected official, and I did not want to sign that without the board's authorization that we're supportive of the project.
Okay.
So we have Articles 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 I'm looking for a motion for at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Article number 4. This is authorize the town manager to sign a contract with CMAS and Salt Pond MEPA study and water quality analysis and monitoring. After this was posted, I do realize that we had, in the past, put this on as agenda items, so I wanted to make sure that we held it to, in fact, make sure that the board didn't have any questions in regard to this. David, you all set?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Look, so do you have a motion then to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve number 4.
Motion, a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, unanimous. We still have a little bit of time. We'll go to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following through on the board's action of last Monday to affirm that as a matter of policy, you intend that the remainder of the town's meals tax revenues be placed in the capital stabilization fund. We will be incorporating this language along with all related matters in an updated budget policy document, which we will bring to the board early in October. The board will recall that in the meantime, we are taking this direction fully into account with the proposed budget-related warrant articles for the upcoming November town meeting. Pursuant to this, of course, we have finalized what is a draft listing of proposed capital projects under the appropriate warrant article that the board has just reviewed, and a copy has been made available to the board this evening, again, in draft form, and I'd ask the board's indulgence as we fine-tune that listing over the next several days, and welcome the board's input and thoughts as well. We'll anticipate beginning a discussion on, again, this in draft form with Finance Committee. They have a regular meeting scheduled for tomorrow evening, and we'll look forward to joining them at that time. It was my pleasure to attend a meeting last Thursday evening of the Water Quality Management Committee Eco Toilet Subcommittee, in which a public presentation was made regarding their work and their anticipated public demonstration project. That was at the library. Also, members of the board, it was my pleasure to join the Bicycle Committee for a recent late afternoon tour last week of a portion of the Shining Sea Bikeway. It was an exhilarating ride on a bicycle and a helmet. I want to note, certainly wore the appropriate protective equipment, and it was a tremendous ride, and that portion of the bikeway is just a treasure, and certainly I've walked the southern portion of the 3 miles or so of the bikeway, but not the central, the northern portion, so it was a great pleasure to do that with the Bikeway Committee. We do look forward to working with them going forward, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
I would have loved to have gotten a picture with you with that white shirt and the tie and the helmet on, but did we have any?
We made some changes in the normal business wardrobe.
Oh, okay.
Minor, however, but we did make some changes that were appropriate to bicycle accommodations.
Okay.
So, and there was a photo of that, as I recall, in the recent Enterprise, whether I like it or not.
Okay.
That was
Mr.
well
Kazarian
covered.
out there riding next to you on the bike path?
We missed Mr. Kazarian, but one of his colleagues was there covering the
Don't do bikes,
event.
Chris?
So.
Superman does strikes again. Okay. All right, it is 8:10. We have a new Class 2 motor vehicle license. This is Sean and Tammy Gibbons. Just for the board's information, I'd like to read a couple of things into the record. This is from Eladio Gore. Based on the information provided, it is my opinion that the use of the above referenced property for internet sales of automobiles with no vehicles for sale at the address would be allowed by right. However, if the applicant chooses to bring any vehicles on site for sale, this would constitute a home occupation under Section 240-162F. A special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals would be required because the lot does not conform to the minimum lot dimensional requirements. The building department is not opposed to granting the license with the understanding that no vehicles for sale would be stored on the site. Again, from the Board of Appeals, the Board of Appeals has no issue with the applicant, but would ask if it be noted on the license that vehicles shall not be staged on the residentially used subject property. Is the applicant here and would like to speak this evening? Come into the microphone, please. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for having us.
Do you want to give us a little synopsis of what you want to do?
Well, I think essentially what we're doing, we both have full-time positions. So I have a store on Main Street. My husband's an anesthesiologist. So we're kind of taking something that's a little bit of a hobby for him, and he's going to be buying and selling kind of vintage automobiles online.
Okay.
A very small number, but we felt like we should do it the right way and come through you guys.
Well, we appreciate it when people do things the right way.
I know that we can do 4 a year, and it's not a big deal, but we just figured, if it ends up being 5 or 6, then we're following the rules, so.
Okay, and you don't have any problem with what was suggested as a potential caveat to your license that no vehicles be staged on site?
Not at all.
Okay.
We appreciate their creativity, so.
Okay, any questions from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of the Class 2 motor vehicle license.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion for the board? Any public comment? So on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you
Ayes
very
have it.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck. Thank you for going through all the right steps.
Thank you.
Next up is request for a sign variance for Zuma Women's Race, Seacrest Beach Hotel, in return on the same date, September the 22nd, 2012. For the board's information, I also asked the police department to come this evening, because if the board remembers, this is a new race to the town of Falmouth. When we approved this, we asked that there would be no road closures. I don't know if it's necessary to get the applicant on unless...
That's your choice.
Well, I guess only if we had some questions, so. Right. So anyways, with the board's indulgence, they have requested a bunch of signs, many signs to be exact, for that one day and one day only, to make sure that they get the 24 signs to be used on the one day, September the 22nd, for their 10K route. I thought it was appropriate because they've asked for the signs that the board hear from the Sergeant Doyle, I believe is from the police department, about the traffic pattern and how they've contacted the police department in regard to their traffic and how they're going to route the race without any road closures.
Good question. Is were you approving just the signs tonight?
We're approving the signs, but at the same time, they're asking for the signs. The signs are to direct folks, so this is an opportunity for us to make sure that everything is in line as we move forward, because I don't think the board wants to hear the day after the race that there were road closures and they weren't able to work with the police department. This is a new venture. They will have upwards to 1,000 runners on their first event, so we want to make sure everything's...
Sean Doyle, Sergeant with the Falmouth Police Department. My understanding is there's going to be over 500 runners. I don't believe 600 runners at this time. They didn't get the amount that they were hoping to get. As far as, they contacted us many months ago and have sat down with us. We do have a meeting with them later in the week to finalize some things. I wanted to wait until after this meeting to make sure that there was nothing else for us to consider. The only time that there may be anything even resembling a road closure would be at the beginning, right in front of the Seacrest. If the rules don't permit it, we'd certainly make other arrangements. However, when there's 500 runners leaving from one spot at one time, it's tough to get them all into one, one small area. So that was our thinking, that at about the time of the start of the race, that there may have to be, if someone had to get through, we'd certainly make sure they got through, but some, limit the traffic at that point. Other than that, all the plan was to do was they said they had the cones to cone off almost the entire course. What we're going to do is put it just into the travel lane in many of the areas. Some areas are wide enough where you wouldn't have to do that, but both as a heads up to vehicles and to the runners so that they would know where they're expected to stay during the race.
Okay, have they hired any details?
They've left that in our hands. We think that it's going to take about 15 officers to properly staff it. We do already have half that amount of volunteers from our department. We put it out to Mashpee. We'll put it out to the Sheriff's Department. I'm confident that we will be able to get that number of officers.
Okay. There was some concern when we originally issued the permit, and I think it's important that you know this, is that road, Quaker Road, there's many dead-end streets along that road, and that those folks are not trapped at their properties for ongoing periods of time.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I would see where we in my opinion, where we would want to limit traffic dramatically, I mean, really encourage people not to go in there, would be for approximately 10 or 15 minutes at the start of the race in that immediate area. My understanding is they changed what they wanted to do a little bit, and the race is going to start and head back toward, back on Quaker Road for about half a mile. They're going to turn and come back across in front of the Seacrest, do the whole race course, and then finish at the Seacrest. So they're going to be going back, actually, in essence, going backwards, and then coming back across where they originally were going to start. They needed to add a little bit of distance onto the race. So there is some concern that to me, that there'd be a large number of people both going out and back in at that time, and we would certainly have a lane available for. However, I think it would be smart for us to limit the traffic as best we could during that time period. We think that during the rest of the race, it'll thin out enough where we're not having major issues with, a large number of people bunched up together at a time. I mean, the Cape Cod Marathon does a similar thing, close down Main Street for a short period of time at the beginning, and then the rest of the race is pretty much sufficient. We do help at intersections and that sort of thing like we'd be doing in this race.
Okay. Keep in mind that Old Silver Beach is still being used by the
Absolutely.
residents on that particular day on a Saturday in the fall if the weather is good. So I'll leave it in your hands. I just wanted to make sure that there was some contact with the police department.
Yeah, there has been contact. The director, she lives down around DC. She actually came up and met with us. I know the permit said 90 days. It was before that time period. It was a few months ago that she came up and met with us initially. And like I said, we're going to hammer out any details we have when she comes up later this week.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the board? Want to talk about the signs itself that they've requested? The board looked at the signs?
No, I'm all set with it.
Ralph, this is a question you should necessarily know, Sergeant. There's both a 10K and a half marathon. Any idea of the numbers between the two races?
Just from a brief conversation earlier today, actually, I believe approximately half of them will be doing the 10K and the half marathon.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the sign variance? There was a recommendation from the Design Review Committee to approve for the one day. And again, it's for 24 signs for one day on September the 22nd.
Move approval of the sign variance for Zuma.
Okay, motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you, Sergeant Doyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, what we're going to do here next, just for the public's information, is that we have 8 petitioners' articles for this fall town meeting. Each petitioner is going to get 5 minutes to be able to explain what their article is, so folks have an idea of what's coming forward. They have been executed on the warrant. This is not an area that we're going to debate this evening. Debate will be left at town meeting. This is just an area for the petitioners to present in 5 minutes what they're actually looking to accomplish for town meeting. So if the board thinks that it's necessary to have a workshop on one of these items in the future, they may ask to do so. But tonight, we're trying to get this information out to the public, what will be coming in this fall's town meeting. First up, petition article, Barry Funfar, shut down the operations of Win 1 and Win 2.
Good evening. Mr. Funfar is unavailable to be here tonight, and he asked me to stand in for him. So my name is John Ford, Blacksmith Shop Road, Precinct 6. I don't have a number for the article, but the article states that shut down the operation of Win 1 and Win 2. What follows is Mr. Funfar's sentiments. If most of what I have to say sounds repetitive, there is good reason for that. Since the first industrial wind turbine in Falmouth, and I think the state, began turning in March 2010, the complaints started coming in and multiplying with time. Nothing has changed. We talk, you say you listen, you talk, but fail to correct the problem. In fact, you put up a second turbine, cited even more incompetently than the first. We victims totally failed to see your rationale. We have been wronged in no uncertain terms. We have suffered a negation of human freedoms and continue to suffer violations of our health, quality of life, and property rights. You have delegated us to second-class citizenship. You have forced us to attend meeting after meeting, to write letter after letter, to send complaint after complaint in defense of our rights. Yet you were never satisfied. Our homes and our families are the most important things in our lives. Our frustrations in dealing with our own elected public officials who continue to drag out an obviously failed project has reached the height of audacity when our own officials declare that not only can the difficulties be solved, but that the problem, that is noise, does not exist. Reliable truth is most often arrived at by experience and observation. You hold us in contempt. Your venture into wind power has been a disaster. By sidestepping the permitting process, you close the debate on what most likely would have brought out the risks involved with such an ill-conceived site for a project of this magnitude. Perhaps that is why the permitting process was avoided. All the pertinent detrimental facts were just as available in 2004 as they are now. How can the townspeople forgive the monumental financial risks taken on by this project having been pushed forward? Like most government projects, it is much easier when people are not spending their own money and the glitter and shine of the free money pouring into the town's coffers blinded those officials to the actual risks we have now discovered. In the case of Win 2, it is appearing that a basically free project to the town will now cost the town
over $5 million to close. Who makes decisions such as these when there was already Wind One spewing warnings in the form of complaints? Was it Selectman Mary Pat Flynn saying of the complainers, "Oh, they'll just get used to it"? But we are not getting used to it. In fact, the negative effects are worsening as time goes on, and the list of second-class citizens continues to grow. Sincerely, Barry Funfar, 27 Ridgeview Drive, Precinct 6, Falmouth.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next up is Kathleen Driscoll, Town Consensus on Wind Turbines. Hi, Kathleen. How you doing?
Good evening. Kathy Driscoll, Antler Shore Drive, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 7. I'm here to put forward the continuation, if you will, the vote that Town Meeting made in April for the continued operation and process in determining the best solution for the operation of the wind turbines. I am a member of the Consensus Building Institute, but I don't represent them. And I know that the process has been going on now for 12 meetings, a little over 3 months. And in those 3 months, we have covered a lot of information. It's been information gathering, it's been open discussions, collaborative processes, and to be able to move forward with the conditions that the Board of Selectmen have made over the last several months, as well as the wind turbine options process, really will allow the group, as well as the town, to get a better understanding of what the outcome and the goals of the wind turbine process will be. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next up is Andrew Bunker, Wastewater Nutrient Studies. Hey, Andrew.
Hi. Andrew Bunker.
Okay.
Live at 11 Westmoreland Drive, and born and raised in West Falmouth. The main concern of this petition article is Crocker Pond in West Falmouth. It's the pond at the epicenter of Falmouth's plans to expand sewering. Most people don't know Crocker Pond, or if they do know the pond, don't know the name of it. It is the pond next to Bourne Farm on 28A in West Falmouth at the Thomas Landers Road intersection. It is where Pumpkin Day is held each October and is owned in part by Salt Pond Area Bird Sanctuary. The reason for the concern is that the town hopes to discharge wastewater 400 yards uphill from Crocker Pond, yet studies of the project did not include the pond. The Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan and Technical Memorandum 9 Engineering Report provide analysis for Wings Pond, Herring Creek, the marsh at Old Silver Beach, and Buzzards Bay. However, there is no mention of Crocker Pond, which will receive a large portion of the nearly 1 million gallons per day of wastewater effluent from Site 7 and 10. There may be bureaucratic or technical reasons for not discussing Crocker Pond in the reviews. The CWMP Summary of Environmental Impact Analysis says there are no surface waters in the vicinity of Site 7. Perhaps there is a legal or technical meaning to the word vicinity, but any reasonable person would see that Crocker Pond is in the vicinity of Site 7. Perhaps the vernal pool, that is 0.3 miles from the wastewater treatment facility, has some special status with the state, so it can be mentioned in the report. But Crocker Pond, which is closer at 0.25 miles from Site 7, somehow draws the short straw and is once again not even mentioned. The Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan draws information from the 2001 Falmouth Pond Atlas PALS report. It does not even mention that Crocker Pond is in that report, nor that Crocker Pond is one of the healthiest ponds in the report. Perhaps there are technical, bureaucratic, or legalistic reasons that allow excluding Crocker Pond from the study. That is unlikely, but if the state agrees and allows moving forward without a study, the town can still recognize the need and decide to study Crocker Pond. It is the right thing to do, and it is the prudent thing to do. The pond adds to the ecological, historical, and recreational value of West Falmouth. Unsubstantiated comments have been made in at least one public meeting suggesting that Crocker Pond is already polluted and maybe we shouldn't worry about it. Sadly, misinformation about the nature of Crocker Pond is passed along, perhaps unknowingly, by some people who want to use Site 7 and 10. The fact is, Crocker Pond is one of the cleanest ponds in the PALS study. In the report, it has 1/10 the nitrogen concentration of the effluent. It is also a very deep, spring-fed pond. The bottom extends 16 feet below sea level. Nitrogen mitigation of effluent happens more effectively in a pond if it is shallow and if water seeps gradually through the sediment layers. But a pond that is 28 feet deep with springs will probably not convert or attenuate the nitrogen because water will rush in through springs instead of seeping through sediment. Because it is deep, the volume of effluent is greater than for a shallower pond. The non-attenuated nitrogen in the presence of the higher level of phosphorus already in the pond could cause algae blooms and fish die-off. If more phosphorus is introduced, as with a Shumet pond, the situation would worsen. We should strive to avoid a situation we will all regret later. Let's all commit to doing a thorough study of Crocker Pond and the surrounding waters. A comprehensive study should be completed and thoroughly discussed with community members before beginning any development whatsoever of Site 7 and 10. Sincerely, Andrew Bunker.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Would you like copies?
Yes, please. You can leave one with us, sure. Okay, the next petition article is Joe Santos. Mr. Santos, would be to amend Article 4 of the town bylaw. But this is a planning board article, so Mr. Santos will be going to the planning board, going through the process with that. Next one up then would be Matt Patrick, zoning bylaw. This is wrong, but for wind turbines, I don't believe that's correct on this agenda, but it's a zoning bylaw, pardon me, petitioner's article. Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for recognizing me. I was not the initiator of this petition article, so I want to ask Ron Zweig to address it.
Okay. Just happened to be the first name on the signature list. That's typically what happens here. Thank you.
If I may, I prepared a short PowerPoint presentation, but I can do it in 5 minutes, but it's not.
Thank you. I don't know if that's even running right now. Is that running?
I'll talk to it. So, thank you. Ron Zweig, Precinct 1. Thanks, Matt, for this, and thank the board for this opportunity. And we have, a number of us have put this together. I'm speaking for the group, particularly all the petitioners who signed the article proposal at this point. And the main thing here is that what we're suggesting is that we're requesting the planning board draft an updated zoning bylaw. This is different from the one they've already prepared, particularly following a zoning ordinance bylaw that was developed by the state. And this zoning bylaw was not referenced in their reference materials. And this actually supersedes and updates, is more current than the one that was cited on their site. So it's it's listed in the article. You can see it there. And there are several points or rationales to support the article. We suggest the article be supported. And considering that today is Constitution Day, I can start with legal factors or technical factors and financial factors. On the legal factors, there are 2 state laws that the planning board's bylaw seems to not be consistent with, and this needs to be checked by legal counsel, and that concerns the Green Communities Act and neighborhood net metering. 10 households can get together and put up a wind turbine somewhere. Under the accessory land use definition in the planning board's bylaw, they basically, 51% of the electricity generated has to be used on site, the site where it is. So if there's a wind turbine on a lot that has one house, and there are 10 people involved, then only 51% of the total energy can be used. So you'd have, it really doesn't follow the spirit of the law, which is to bring together folks to put up a cost-effective, perhaps larger turbine than a smaller one, which is not as efficient and effective. So that the Green Communities Act, and I've cited the Section 138 in that. In the second law is the zoning law in the state, Mass GL 40A, Section 3, and in that it says that basically for agricultural use, you don't need to get a special permit for a wind turbine installation or any structure on the property. And so the zoning board, the planning board's bylaw basically doesn't allow that exemption. So it's not consistent with state law. Okay, now moving on to technical factors. The planning board's bylaw, which is different from the model that I referenced, has a maximum limit of 250 kilowatts total capacity. It's unclear why there's a limit. There's no such limits in the state model, and the system, if a system complies with sound, flicker, setback, etc., other factors that it needs to, it's unclear why it would be limited to 250 kilowatts. Second thing is that a meteorological tower is required even for small wind installations. And those small wind installations, basically, you can go to the Mass Clean Energy Center site, and they've got a tool where you can plug in your latitude, longitude, tower height, and the turbine of choice that they will support, of which there's like 20 listed there, and it'll tell you what the energy output would be. So it's kind of onerous and very expensive to put up a meteorological tower that's required under the planning board's bylaw. So this is another technical factor. Another factor is that the planning board's bylaw says you don't need a permit for a turbine up to 300 watts. I went online and looked at, I got three examples on your sheet there that show that the sound emitted from a 300 watt turbines that are on the market is about 60 to 70 decibels. And then if we look at the study that was recently done by DEP with our municipal turbines, the highest sound measurement was under 51 decibels. So you could put up on your property line 15 feet, 20 feet from your neighbor's bedroom, a 300 watt turbine that could emit 65 decibels, which is very high compared even to what we're witnessing anywhere in town today. And then in terms of financial factor, and this is something that pertains, again, goes back to the 51% usage on site by a turbine, is that it's unclear, first of all, whether there's what the rationale is for this limit. If you have a business and your business wants to expand and do something, and you stay within the criteria that are required for that expansion, it would be like telling that business, you can only increase your profit margin by 20%. It's basically that, because this particularly pertains not just to residences, but to businesses too. So if a business wanted to put up a turbine, they would be limited to say, your profit, your gain, beyond what you use, it's not necessarily even profit, would be 49% of the total. And it doesn't also look at, and I haven't seen any analyses done of the financial viability of this, because you have to invest, you have to have a return on investment, and that return on investment needs to be justified by the energy produced. So if you're limited, if your house is or your business is using so much, you can only go so much further. The investment may not be worth it. It doesn't encourage wind power development. So that's one of the financial factors. So basically, I think that if we go back, we suggest and recommend the planning board go back, look at the the draft model bylaw that they apparently haven't looked, they may have looked at it, but it's not on the list, and consider that, and come back to the Maytown meeting and present a bylaw that fits, that looks into these issues and possibly other ones that have been raised, we would strongly recommend that for the good of the town, for the good of production of renewable energy in Falmouth, and as a good model, probably even beyond Falmouth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is petitioner's article, Mark Finneran, public drinking water notification protocols.
Hi, Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. This article, I won't read the whole thing. It'll be printed out, obviously. But this is to direct the Board of Selectmen pursuant to the powers and duties conferred by the Falmouth Home Rule Charter to establish a drinking supply notification protocols whereby the Water Department must notify Mass DEP and the residents of Town of Falmouth within 2 hours of the department obtaining knowledge of a potential or actual emergency. It goes on to explain, CMR 310, which is the water section of Mass regulations. But this stems from 2 years ago, as everyone's aware about, and also we had an incident almost 2 months ago now, where we had 2 samples come back positive for E. coli. In the same period of time, Wareham had a sample come back positive, and when I did hear that, I hearkened back to 2007 when we had the very rainy year, and I heard numerous times on the radio then, as soon as they get a hit, they notify the radio stations immediately, as they did this year, and as they did numerous times in 2007. Also, I have an article here from the Cape Cod Times where the Catuit, Osterville, Marston's Mills Water District had an E. coli hit in one of their wells. They shut the well down immediately. The people of the district that were affected found out with a letter from the town's water district explaining to them what happened and what they did. Barnstable County, Falmouth is part of Barnstable County, has the second highest median age of any county in the country, I think next to Hillsborough County in Florida. E. coli in the water is particularly dangerous to old people and young people. I think the median age here is somewhere north of 55. I know personally that my mother was sick the last time the water was bad for months. She was sick again this time with the hit, as were other people in town. I had, and I got sick myself. I had people stop and tell me of filling their pool and having what looked like jellyfish floating around in it. They related calling the health agent and explaining to him, asking him about the water, and the health agent's reply was, why do you drink the water? You can buy it for $0.25 a gallon down street. I think if people are notified immediately, treated the same way they're treated in surrounding towns, they can decide for themselves whether they'll drink the water or not. I can tell you, personally, my mother will never drink the water in this town again, period. I think everyone deserves the notification at the earliest possible moment. They can deal with it on their own as they choose. People are free to go on drinking the water, as Selectman Putman told me that he did, even though he was aware of the problem with the water, and I think everyone deserves that knowledge. Also, if we had a protocol, well, immediate notification, no one would be able to say that somebody should have recused themselves, or the hit was in this neighborhood or that neighborhood. I mean, it would just be an immediate policy that we would all follow. And I think for the health and safety of the people in the town, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. That's it.
Thank you. Next up, the Emile? Amelie, I'm sorry. And this is PNPS, Catastrophic Event Response Plan. You need to come to the microphone and tell us a little bit about your article.
Well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Amelie Sheltema, Gunning Point Road, Precinct 1. I wish to withdraw my petition to Fall Town Meeting. I have learned through others who have recently spoken with Fire Chief Mark Sullivan that he has already planned to have the Local Emergency Planning Committee, LEPC, prepare a radiological emergency response to an accident at the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station, a black swan event. So I guess that's the substance of what of why it's being withdrawn. But I would like all of us to remember that Pilgrim Nuclear Reactor is an accident waiting to happen. So, thank you very much.
Okay.
I've lightened your load of discussing petitions.
We voted the warrant this evening. It will remain on the town meeting.
sorry?
We voted the warrant already this evening. It will remain on the warrant.
Okay.
And most likely, the recommendation then, because you wanted to withdraw it, would be different than trying to move a positive recommendation forward for it.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Finneran again, amend Falmouth Home Rule Charter. Thank you.
Hi, Mark Finneran again, Precinct 6. This is an amendment to the charter to add a compliance committee. Basically, what this is an exact copy of Bourne's charter compliance. It's your basic jury of your peers. The only difference is they have 7 precincts, we have 9, so it obviously consists of 9 members, and there were a few other terms that change. Most town charters all over the state have no enforcement in them. That's just the way they always wrote them. Much the same as last year, I had an article regarding the CPC and the funding of it. A lot of those popped up at the same town meeting. There were 3 other ones in the state asking the same thing. And this charter compliance is coming up all over the place and being adopted. Provincetown was first, Bourne was second, and they adopted this unanimously at their town meeting. When I was at the Bourne town clerk's office gathering information, they were more than happy and they were quite helpful, as our town clerk's office is, I might add. They had received a visit, the woman related to me 2 days before, from the Sandwich Charter Review Committee, whose plan, as far as she understood, was to do the same thing I'm doing here, was basically adopt their article word for word. Although they've changed it, they did change it a little bit again tonight, the Charter Review Committee. It basically still remains as described perfectly by Austin Heath as the Fox Garden, the Hen House. As I said, this provides much better oversight. It was adopted unanimously in Bourne. It appears that Sandwich is doing the same thing, and I don't think that anyone should be afraid of a jury of their peers or be afraid of just direct enforcement of a charter as it's written, because after all, it is our town constitution. And it's as simple as that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Jane Norton, Falmouth High School Athletic Fields Complex.
Actually, it's not. It's Karen Bissonette. Jane just happened to be on the top one on the list.
It's always the first signature, Jane.
But I actually filed it.
All right.
So I'm here representing the committee that's been working on trying to get an all-purpose field for the town. And so we're just coming to town meeting, asking for some money for some design so we can figure out what we do need and how much it will cost.
Do you have that's going to be one of the questions folks will be asking, is the
Yes.
number you're looking for?
Well, that's
The
why we
amount.
need a design and a plan, because we
And-
won't know how much it is until, how much we want to get from the town?
Right.
$35,000.
Okay, that's what okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all you wanted to say?
That's all we wanted to do, and we have some of the committee members here tonight, but we're just looking to start the ball rolling to get the town an all-purpose field.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next up would be Matt Patrick, Eco Toilet Demonstration Project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, Matthew Patrick, Precinct 7. I'm a member of your Water Quality Management Committee, and the Eco Toilet Subcommittee filed this article, and we think it would facilitate the program that we've set up to demonstrate the feasibility of eco-toilets. If this article passes, it would make connecting to the sewer optional for up to 62 households that install eco-toilets as part of Falmouth's demonstration program. The object of the article is to remove the possibility that people will be forced to connect to the sewer sometime in the future after they have installed an eco-toilet in their home. This is a concern for people that people have about joining the demonstration project that will discourage them from participating. The concept was developed in Provincetown when a local option version of the article was passed into the law in 2000, and then subsequently by their town meeting. Some residents of Provincetown were upset when they found out that they would be forced to connect to a sewer after they had put in expensive Title V septic systems, and that was fairly recently they were forced to put them in. Provincetown leaders knew that they would have a tough time passing the funding for the sewer installation of the law if the law and article did not pass. The Provincetown local option law was passed into law by the Massachusetts legislature in the Acts of 2000, Chapter 157. This is called checkerboarding, and it was made an option to all municipalities in the Mass General Law, Chapter 83, Section 1B, as part of the Ocean Sanctuaries Management Act that passed in 2008. The proposal of the Eco Toilet Subcommittee is to substitute Title V septic systems with eco toilets to remove the concern that participants in the Eco Toilet demonstration program may be forced to hook up to the sewer after installing an eco toilet. So this is simply to make it easier for us to get the 62 households necessary to demonstrate that eco toilets are feasible. State DEP wants 62 households tested, so that is the gist of our article.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, folks, thank you very much for all of your participation and the petitioners' presentations. Please keep in mind that the Board of Selectmen will be making recommendations in the near future. Also, please keep in mind that any of you who have petitioners' articles may want to attend precinct meetings to be able to inform the town meeting members of your particular article and your thoughts on those articles. All right, the next up is to approve minutes of a meeting of September the 10th, 2012. Does anyone have any corrections, additions, omissions? Motion to approve as presented.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. We have already done the summary of actions. So, any individual selectmen's reports? Go ahead, Bruce.
Just want everybody to know I did receive the emails, your preferences for the committees, and I'm compiling that now. I should have it available for everyone next week, so.
Great. I can report that we had a productive meeting with Mass Housing Partnership that was attended by members of the CPC, Town Council, the Town Manager's Office, as well as the Town Planner in regard to the development of the affordable housing at Little Pond. It was a productive meeting, and I know we're going to continue to have some meetings as we move forward to make sure that this project is properly positioned to be a success as we move forward, and that was this past week. I'm trying to look to see if we had anything else that, as a group, was attended by this board. Oh, anybody else have any issues? So, Town Manager's report, we concluded. So I've entertained a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Welcome to Falmouth. If you're a visitor, this is where surf and sun meet for fun. If you're a resident, this is where you'll find the businesses and the resources necessary to fill all of your needs. If you're a business person, this can be your home. Join with other men and women who work together to make this a sustainable economy year-round. Welcome to Falmouth, Cape Cod.